What is up, everyone, and welcome to the Intentional Grounding Podcast on the Buffalo Rumblings Podcast Network. I am your host, Sterling Furrowh, kicking it live here on the YouTube, and I'm ready. This is a topic, this is something that I've been wanting to talk about for quite some time. So this is the time of the offseason where I'm gonna, as we've been talking about, I've been going through these position groups and trying to find nuggets, we're trying to find things where this team can improve where they are, who's in the room, who's not here. It's just it's summer cleaning, spring cleaning, if you will. But needless to say, man, welcome to the Intentional Grounding Podcast. So if you're watching live tonight, you'll notice that I am in the kitchen. Right, I'm cooking it up in the kitchen. So this is my kitchen view from tonight. So, sometimes, you get into places where you feel like you got to mix it up, man. My little studio that I have, I work from it all the time, man. Even when I work from home, that's where I'm working, right? And so tonight I just thought, no backdrop. Let's just get it in, man. Let's just do the damn thing. So that's where I'm at. So if you're watching tonight, make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe to the Buffalo Rumblings Podcast Network. Also, make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to my Twitter handle at Furrowh Sterling. So let's get into this. So there's a lot to be said about the Bills' defensive line and who's in the room. And this is one of those positions or group of positions, if you will, where I feel like there's so much that could be said. There's so much to talk about, right? And it's one of those things where we all kind of have a different opinion on what we should do, what how do we attack an offense? Why, let's talk about sack numbers and snap percentages and all that kind of stuff, right? If you go back to the playoff game against the Chiefs, the Bills had a hard time stopping Patrick Mahomes in that offense. And I think from a defensive line standpoint, I think that the Bills had a hard time getting home to the quarterback. For me, that's a big deal. Now, I know there's some of you that are team pressure, and there's some of you that are team sacks. They're both important. I'm a sack guy. I ain't gonna lie. I would much rather the quarterback be brought down, sacked, done. Now, we want to talk about pressures. Pressures are important. They kind of help dictate the outcome of a play, right? So if you can hurry a quarterback, his process, get him to throw the ball away, or force him to a turnover, I mean, that's awesome, right? But pressures is great. I mean, Jerry Hughes always ranked one of the top guys in terms of pressures. This defense, statistically as a whole, is a good defense when it comes to pressure rates. But sacks, now if you look at from a statistical point of view, the Bills aren't bad when it comes to sacks. But I think when you lack having a closer, a finisher, right? They need that. And we haven't had that. Now, we saw this offseason, the Bills go out and what they say, we're gonna improve play in the trenches, especially on defense. And we got Von Miller, we got Tim Settle, we got Daquan Jones, right? We brought back Shaq Lawson. I mean, those are great moves. All right. Jordan Phillips is back in the fold. That's great. Like I'm pumped when you talk about who's in the room. Like I'm super pumped. I was kind of over guys like Starla Tulele. Not feeling it. I mean, I felt like the Bills overpaid for him. I didn't like to sign him to begin with, but I understood what they did and why they did it. I get it. I totally understand that. But I just didn't feel like it was the best use of your dollars at the time when they got him. I don't know about you guys, but I can't see any let's see. I can't see any comments. So if you're commenting on the show tonight for some reason, I can't see you. But that's a StreamYard thing. So if you pop up in here at some point, there we go. It's popping in now. I don't know what was wrong, but so anyway, so we get guys like Von Miller. All right. We get guys like Von, and that's the closer that we needed. We got Greg Rousseau coming into another year. I'm pumped about Greg Rousseau. Greg Rousseau, he's like one of my favorite players on the team, man. I just love his makeup, how he carries himself as a pro. He's just a solid dude on and off the field. You know, Ed Oliver. I mean, we're going to talk about all these guys tonight, right? So we start this conversation off. We talked about, I briefly hit on the problem, right? We you know, stopping the run to me is an issue. Okay. Now, when you look at from a yard standpoint, let's look at it from a yard standpoint. The Bills have not ranked inside the top 10 stopping the run since McDermott has been the coach. Right now, overall, this defense is elite. I'm not taking anything away from the defense, but when you talk about getting better, I think the run defense is one where they're going to have to improve. They got to stop the run. Now, we saw chunk plays, you know, Derrick Henry, right? He got his fair share, a few chunk plays, albeit on the holding, but, you know, whatever. It still counted, right? So I'm not going to sit here and complain about that. But I think what the Bills have done this offseason, I think we're going to be – look, man, I think there's a good chance that this defense is going to be ranked inside the top 10 for the first time under Sean McDermott's tenure. Now, historically, Sean McDermott's defenses have not been great at stopping the run. They're always sort of in the middle of the pack. And that's good because his past defenses are always, you know, some of the best in the league. Overall, okay, so let's just talk about total yards and points per game. All right. 2017, the Bills were 26. Now, that was Sean McDermott's first year. Points per game, they were 18. 2018, they were ranked second in yards, 18th in points. 2019, third in yards, second in points. 2020, 14 in yards, 6 in points. 2021, 1 and 1. All right. So this defense is it's good, and it's only gotten better. You know, when we're just talking about the defensive line here. So let's you're right. You know, Dan, that's right. There should be more people watching this. So if you're at home, if you're listening to this on your way to work on Tuesday morning, man, we appreciate it. I appreciate it. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe. So we got one of the best pass defenses in the league, right? We can pressure the quarterback, but now we need to, the thing is, we need to start getting home, okay? Pressures are good, but I want to see more sack numbers, okay? So we're going to talk about who's in the room. All right, so we kind of got a little hit on Sean McDermott, right? Who's out? Harrison Phillips, we mentioned. Star Latulele, right? Those are Jerry Hughes, Mario Addison. Those are the big notables that are out. And we got guys with promise that need to take the next step, right? We talked about who's in. Tim Settle, Daquan Jones, Von Miller, Shaq Lawson. So one of the questions, you know, this offseason, when the Bills signed Von Miller, I know one of the first questions that I asked that I had in my mind was, what's his snap percentage going to be? What is Von Miller's snap count going to be? All right. This is a guy who, for his entire career, has had a very high snap percentage. You know, Sean McDermott, typically, we all know, he likes to run his defensive linemen on a rotation, which is totally fine. He wants to keep his defensive linemen fresh. Right? It helps from an injury standpoint, in the playoffs. I mean, you should be playing your best ball in the playoffs. So these guys are typically fresh late in games. We're running eight defensive linemen out there, right? In total rotation. So what can we expect from Von Miller? Now, this is a guy that's played at least 80% of the snaps in his career. Do we actually – now, he's 33 years old, and I think, pass rushers nowadays, they age gracefully, right? So I still think he has at least 3 productive years left in him, at least 3 productive, good years, solid years in him. And the tools that he has around him should only make that even better, okay? So if I were to give a percentage that I think that I would say he's at least going to play 70 to 75% of snaps. That's just what I think. In his press conference, he did say, if I'm not on the field, I can't make plays. Because I think it was asked about his snap percentage that they talked about it. He didn't really get into any specifics. Maybe that's something they're going to discuss further as they get into training camp and when they talk scheme and so forth. But I think it's fair to say that he could play 70 to 75% of the snaps. And that is a reduction from what he's been doing. But I look at it like this. You got to marry the two. Sean McDermott, getting guys rest and having them ready, running the rotation and so forth. And then you got Von being 33. Keeping him fresh, man. Like he's battled some injuries over the past few years. I think that's fair for both sides, right? Anywhere from 70 to 75. If there's more, great. I would love to see him. Obviously, we know he's going to be on third downs. That's not a question. But when Von is on the field, what does he bring? He's an elite pass rusher, and he is an elite run defender. He's a good to elite run defender. No doubt about it. All right, so since 2019, though, he hasn't had a double-digit sack year statistically. Now, he's been battling injuries. Last year, he played on 2 teams. All right. I think he played 7 games with the Broncos, about 8 games or so regular season with the Rams. So, I mean, you're kind of getting in the swing of things and so forth. So he had 9.5 sacks last year. And in 2018, he had 14.5 sacks. So, Von's going to he's going to eat this year. He's going to eat this year. He's going to have at least 10 sacks or more. And we haven't had a 10-sack guy in quite some time since Lorenzo Alexander was the last double-digit sack guy for the Bills. All right, so Von's going to eat this year. Look, we know this team is stacked. They're going to be solid on both sides of the ball. This team is built to play with the lead, right? Their ideas, they want to start off really fast on you and then want to make you one-dimensional. So if the Bills, with this offense, Josh Allen in another year, these young guys in another year, this offensive line gelling in another year. We talked about wide receivers last week. Now we're on defensive line. I think it's a recipe for success. So I expect Von Miller to have at least, he's going to, like I said, he's going to play 70, 75% of the snaps in my estimation, and he's going to have 10-plus sacks. Let's talk about these two guys. AJ Epinesa and Carlos Basham. Now, these are 2 guys that AJ Epinesa, coming to his second year last year, didn't really play. This guy didn't really play at all. Didn't really play. And he had that in week 2, he had that breakout game or whatever. I thought it was the beginning of a breakout season in Miami where he had like 9 or so pressures. I surely thought this okay, like first year, getting his weight together, he's learning the ropes or whatever. Second, and then all of a sudden we just didn't really see him. Like he was non-existent. I don't know why. And we're going to find out. I think this is a year for AJ Epinesa. This is a big year for him. He's got a big opportunity. Now, I know we know he's not starting, but he could be DN number 3 behind Vaughn and Greg. He could be defensive end number 3 coming off. And we know that he's strong at the point of attack. He's got heavy hands, right? But I think it's the nuances of the position. Converting speed to power. He's not a bendy athlete. We know that. He's not even a great athlete, his combine numbers proved it. He's not, I would say it feels like, watching him over the couple years from Iowa to now, I feel like his first steps got better, right? He's added a few more moves to his pass rush routine. That's great, right? His counter moves look like they improved. I want to see what he's able to bring. Statistically, I think I would be pleased if he got 4 or 5 sacks. That would be, for me, that would be like, okay, we can work with that. I need to see him at least get 5 sacks. I think he's better at defending the run than he is as a pass rusher. Okay? But, both of these guys, this next guy I'm talking about, Carlos Basham, I think he has more of an upside than our guy here. He has more of an upside. This is a guy second round pick, right, from last year. He had 2.5 sacks. Now, he only had 18 combined tackles. He really didn't do much. But between the two of these guys, these are guys that can also play defensive end, but they can reduce down. Now, they like their position flexibility, versatility, however you want to put it. These are two guys that can play both roles, right? Now, they're not space heaters, but I think in certain situations, in certain defensive packages, these are guys that, if you want to, take out Daquan or Tim Settle and rotate one of these guys in and pass rush situation where you want to have 4 defensive ends. We've seen them do this, right? It's not crazy. But because, AJ Epinesa and Carlos Basham are next on the list, I think Basham is a better player. I just think, from an athletic standpoint, he's a good athlete, man. He's a good athlete. And he's hopefully from year 1 to year 2. Now, he came off that COVID year, and these guys really didn't get a break. All right, so now he's in year 2. Can he be DN 3? Because we know who DN 4 is. All right, that's going to be Shaq Lawson. Okay, so if you ask me, I probably say between Epinesa and Basham, I would say Basham is probably defensive end number 3. It's fair. And I would say Epinesa is 5. Okay? But I like both players. I'm okay. I was not a fan of the AJ Epinesa pick. I'm just going to tell y'all right now. I was not a fan of it at all. Not in the slightest. I felt like there were things that they could have done. But I'm not the GM, and he's smarter than me. Now, Gregory Rousseau, on the other hand, I know some of you guys are hitting in the chat talking about Greg Rousseau, talking about Groot. I like his game, man. I felt like he was one of the better, probably one, top 3 run stopping defensive ends as a rookie. I'll probably say he's probably the best one from stopping the run. Okay, I'm not saying he's the best defensive end out of that rookie class last year, but what I'm saying is I felt like he was one of the best at stopping the run. Okay, so I think he's tall, he's long, he's got functional athleticism, right? He's good, he's a good athlete, I believe, and I think he's only going to get better. We talked about Von Miller earlier in the show and the impact he's going to have. You guys have been hearing me talk about all season, teaching these guys the ropes, the nuances, the little things about the game, the detail, getting these guys ready to play. I think it's going to be, I think it's great. It's great for these young defensive ends. learning from a guy like Von Miller. So let's just hope, Now around NFL circles, what you hear rumor wise that when it comes to teaching the game, Von Miller is one of the best guys to have in the room. If you're going to teach the game, teach guys how to rush the passer, how to prepare for games. This guy is a student of the game. So, I mean, it's only going to benefit our defensive line. It's only going to benefit, man. You guys are asking me if Von's going to play outside linebacker, if he's going to in that 4-3. He's a defensive end to me. In this defense, he's a defensive end, but I think they're going to find ways to put him in the best positions to succeed. He's typically playing in a 3-4 defense where he's that outside rush linebacker, right? So, the Bills play technically they play a 4-2-5, right? So 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 DBs. Von can play hand in the dirt or standing up. I don't think it really matters, right? You're not going to get Von out in pass coverage. That's not what he does. You don't sign him that money to talk about you're going to go, do a Mario Williams be trying to be in pass lanes, and that's not what he's going to do. All right, so I hope that answers your question there. But Greg Rousseau, what would be a good statistical output for Greg Rousseau? So last year he had 50 combined tackles, all right? 1 INT against Patrick Mahomes in week 5, 4 sacks. 4 sacks. I would say from a combined tackle standpoint, and he's playing, he was playing halftime last year. Let's say his snap percentage is up to 60 to 65%. He started all the games. I mean, he started a ton of games. Can he get 60, 65%? I think that's fair. Maybe, let's up that combined tackle range to 60, 70. Give me 7 sacks. 7, 8 sacks is palatable. That's doable. That's not me being crazy or Greg Rousseau is the best defensive end in football. I think 7, 8 sacks I think that's fair. I think that's something that we should expect to see from him. 7 or 8 sacks. I think he could do that. He totally could do that. Again, all off season or in training camp, he's going to be around some one of the greats of the game, man. I think it's going to pay dividends. Not only was this, like I said, a short-term move, but it was a great long-term move as well because of those young defensive ends. But again, he's one of the better run-defending defensive ends in the league with that length. All right? And I think it's only going to improve. Greg Rousseau is going to be a force. He's going to be a force. I just think if you were a rookie last year, you don't have to deal with that mental wall, that mental block that he even said that took place last year. So, Basham and him, right? Spencer Brown, that it's real. Around that 12th game where the college football season is coming to an end. I mean, you're still working hard, and they added a week to the regular season last year. Yeah, 12 would be great. Greg Rousseau to get 12 sacks? Oh man, I'm on cloud 9. That would be dope, David. That would be great. Grant Turner says, anyone else flirting with 10 sacks? Man, if let's just say this for Intentional Grounding fans and those who are fans of the Buffalo Rumblings Podcast Network, let's just say 8 is the floor, and let's just say 12 is the ceiling. That's fair. We could subscribe to that. We need him to get 8. We'll start a campaign when the season starts for Greg Rousseau to get 8 sacks. Can he do that? That'd be great. Because again, playoffs last year, we gotta get home, man. We gotta affect games and close games late. There's no reason why the Bills should have lost that game. Now I know we didn't have Trey White. Patrick Mahomes is great. Travis Kelce is great. But the Bills had all the stuff to beat the Chiefs. Let's not kid ourselves here. Let's not act like it's so funny. You know, you hear on NFL Network and these other outlets talk about how, you know, oh, the Bills can't get over the hump. That's the Kansas City Chiefs, man. Get out of here with that. Yes, they can. Yes, they can. Some fluky play calling toward the end by Sean McDermott, these guys, special teams, whoever you want to place the blame on. The defense didn't come to play that. I mean, it was great quarterback on great quarterback. And sometimes you just can't. When you're on, man. Both of these guys are on. But Josh Allen outplayed Patrick Mahomes, but we'll get that in a different day. But we all know what's up. But yeah, I mean, you letting quarterbacks run around the pocket. I mean, can't be losing contain and giving these guys extra time to evaluate and see what's down the field and then make plays off script, man. We can't be having that no more. If the Bills want to get serious about winning the title, hey, one of the reasons why I felt like the Bengals got so good toward the end of the season in the playoffs was because their defensive line, man, their defensive line was nasty. Trey Henderson and those guys, defensive tackle DJ Reader, they were killing guys, man. They were controlling the game from the line of scrimmage. And you got to be able to do that. You got to be able to run the ball, stop the run, and you got to be able to close games out. Your defensive line's got to be able to do it. So let's talk about Ed Oliver. Let's talk about Ed Oliver here. This is my guy. All right, Ed Oliver is my dude. He is my breakout player for the upcoming 22 season. Mr. Ed Oliver himself. I'm going to reach out to him and see if I can get him on the show. But 2021, my man had 41 combined tackles, 12 assists. Now, 4 sacks. And when I say that, it's like, you would think if you didn't watch the tape, you'd be like, okay, whatever. But when you put on the film, Ed Oliver that man's a menace. Ed Oliver's a force, man. I mean, this dude taking up double teams, causing pressure on the quarterback. He even had a couple sacks turn into a couple penalties, man. But Ed Oliver, I'm telling you, dude, that guy really came to play last year. Really came to play. I mean, I would say he's probably one of the better penetrating defensive tackles in the league, from a pass rush perspective. I mean, he's hard to block, man. And he was facing a lot of double teams last year. So now just think about it. Greg Rousseau coming to another year. You have a real two-gapping defensive tackle in Daquan Jones. Tim Settle he's a guy, he's versatile. He can kind of do both, but he's more of a penetrating style defensive tackle. But Daquan Jones in his defense next to Ed Oliver. So Daquan Jones is everything that we wanted Star Lotulelei to be. And some, I believe. He's a better football player. So this is going to benefit Ed Oliver so much. Quick first step. Man, Ed Oliver's this guy, I'm telling y'all. And he's going to get paid. Like, if you want to get ahead of paying this man, it's time. It's time. Get a contract done this offseason or during the season this year, because if you don't, you will be paying an arm and a leg for Mr. Ed Oliver, because he is coming out. Now, he was my guy last year. I felt like but he got better, right? He didn't break out completely, but he got better, noticeably better. Noticeably better. So what can we expect from an Ed Oliver this year? Like I said, this is a guy last year, 4 sacks. Let's see what it tackles for loss. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Because I think that's more I think that's better when you talk about defensive tackle play. All right. I think tackle for loss. I think that's a really good indicator. So he had 5 sacks. He had 5 sacks. But I'll find it for you. I'll find what he had. If you guys, if you see it in there, you can throw it in there. But I'm having a hard time finding it. I have to log into PFF and all that stuff. And I apologize. I should have had it ready. I don't know why I spaced it. Let's see. Let's see if we can find it. 5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and can't find it. Okay. All right. I'll find it. I'll tweet it out. Tackle for loss for Fred Oliver. So from a floor to ceiling projection for Ed Oliver, we're taking all the factors, better defensive linemen around him. We mentioned Tim Settle, Daquan Jones. I think that's going to pay dividends. Greg Rousseau in another year, Von Miller. Let's say, I think for him, I really do think this guy can get 10 sacks. I think he can get 10 sacks and probably, 15 or so tackles for loss. I think that's a fair expectation. I think he could be a double-digit sack guy. I think he's that impressive, right? So for let's say he 9 sacks is that's high, but again, I feel like he's going to be a breakout player not only for the Bills but league wide. I think he's going to be a breakout player. So let's just say 9 sacks is what is something that will be awesome. Something that I think is not being a homer to want to shoot for, to expect, and I think 9 is the floor, 12 is the ceiling. I think that much of Ed Oliver's game. I think he's going to be a difference maker in the middle. I mean, because again, now you got Daquan Jones, so Ed Oliver's going to be getting one-on-one attention. He's going to be getting prime. Who are you gonna block? Let's just say you roll out there with Greg Rousseau. Okay, so you don't have to double team Greg Rousseau. Then you got Daquan Jones, a 2-gapping defensive tackle. He's a run stuffer, all right, but he's a real 2-gapping defensive tackle. Okay, and then you got Ed Oliver next to him, one-on-one with a guard. And then on that side, you got Von. Oh my God! You're gonna have to do something. You're gonna have to do something. So Ed Oliver's gonna eat, man. He is going to eat. I'm just telling you right now. So I think that's a fair prediction. 9 to 12 sacks for my guy Ed Oliver. I'm going to reach out to him and see if I can get him on the show, because I want to be on the train, on the Ed Oliver train, to see what's going on, man. He's ride horses. I mean, he's just an intriguing fellow, right? He's just an intriguing dude. But yo, like, we need you to be like one of the premier defensive players in the league. It's time. The Ed Oliver train begins, and it begins on on this show. It begins here. I'm telling y'all right now, it begins here. I just think he's that talented. So who next up? Shaq Lawson. Now we went from a high, right? Rousseau, all those guys, and Shaq Lawson. Let's put some respect on my guy's name. Now, drafted by the Buffalo Bills, we know the story. Last season, he played with the Jets. He didn't really do much. I mean, it's the Jets. Can you blame him? Right? Can you blame him? I mean, from a statistical point of view, he really didn't do much. Now, I felt like he was decent to good with, the year before, 2020, with the Dolphins. And he had 4 sacks that season. The season before he was with us, he had 6.5 sacks. But the calling card with Shaq Lawson, I think, is attention to stopping the run. He's another guy, and he has functions that he has good athleticism, right? To contain the quarterback going the outside or to stop the run on the outside. I mean, he's a good athlete. I think he's a really good run defender. How many sacks are you projecting the team total to be? Oh, that's a good question. If I had to, I'll get to that. But back to I already said that here in a second. But back to Shaq Lawson. He's defensive end, what, 4? Right? Or 3? He's probably defensive end 3. I mean, nah, he's 4. He's 4 or 5. We'll see. He's 4 or 5. But that's not bad. If Shaq Lawson is your 4th or 5th defensive end coming off the bench in a defensive line rotation, hey, that ain't bad, man. That means you got some depth, right? Last year we talked about the Bills had depth, but they didn't have anybody that was top tier. That's different this year. Right? Now you got Von Miller, and now you got these other guys. Like, we talked about Greg Rousseau, Ed Oliver. But Shaq Lawson's going to be a big part of that. He's another veteran in the room that can show these young guys the way. I think it's going to be great. I was surprised that we heard the rumors. Of him coming back. And then when Jordan Phillips had his interview, he was like, I don't know what Shaq's waiting on, but he needs to go ahead and sign the contract, man. So we'll see. Now, sack totals. Last year, the Chicago Bears, let's see, 2021, the Pittsburgh Steelers had the most sacks and 55. So I don't think that the Bills are going to be the leading sack team, right? Second on that list was 51 sacks by the Vikings. The Bears, 49 sacks. They were 4th. I think the Bills, realistically, should be around I think 50 sacks I think that's fair. I think that's fair. You got to keep in mind, the Bills typically spend so many resources on the defensive line, money-wise. And we haven't been getting the production that I think equals what they're paying. And that number goes up. I think this year they got the talent to really match the salaries, right? They got the talent now. I think some of their young guys are developing. I think they got it now. I think they can. Honestly, I think the Bills can have one of the best top 5 defensive lines in the league. That's not homer. That's just facts. So can we get 50 sacks? Von's going to get his double digits. I think Ed Oliver can sniff around double digits. Then you need these other guys to give me 6, 7, 5, 4 sacks. I mean, you can expect a safety or a cornerback to get a couple, and there's your 50 sacks right there. It's not a hard path. It's not a hard path to get to. It's not a hard path to get to at all. Next up is Daquan Jones and Tim Settle. Now, Daquan Jones has been one of those dudes, man. He's always done his job, right? He's a guy that last year played with the Panthers. I mean, he's just a big man, all right? One of his better seasons came in 2017. I felt like that was one of his best seasons with the Tennessee Titans. He really put some good stuff on tape. Just some of the, since we signed him, I've gone back and I've watched, a couple games each season to kind of see what I like. And one of the things I'll tell you, man, he's a force. He's not an explosive player, but he does his job. Like, he's solid, man. He's a true two-gapping defensive tackle. He's going to come in there. He's going to take up two guys. He's going to take up two. And you got him, and it's up to the guys around him to make plays to finish. He can stop the run. He's not going to offer you much in terms of being a pass rusher. That's not his thing. But he's strong at the point of attack. He can disengage from blockers, and he's going to get in the backfield in the run. He's going to be effective in the run game. My fam right here, speaking facts. This is my guy. This is my guy right here, man. This is my dude right here. He's family. But he says, yeah, Daquan Jones might be an upgrade to what we got from Star last year. Ain't no might be. Ain't no might be, man. He's a definite upgrade over what we had in Star last year. Your best ability is your availability. And didn't feel like Star was, I mean, after, admitted, COVID, he was just different. He didn't recover well. And that's sad. I like Star the player, like the guy. I mean, he's cool dude. Like, he seems like a cool dude. But man, his play really frustrated the hell out of me. I ain't gonna cap. I'm sorry, bro, but you might be a good dude and all, but it is one. Stop the run. I need you to stop the run. He couldn't do it. Daquan Jones is going to do that. Daquan Jones is going to do that, man. And I don't know what the Panthers were doing with Daquan Jones last year. They used him completely wrong. They used him wrong, man. They used him in the defense they had him in. Nah, that ain't his thing, man. Just nope. Play him at true nose tackle. That's not what he does, man. That's not what he does. But yeah, that's true. His play is going to keep Tremaine Edmonds, Terrell Bernard, Matt Milano. He's going to keep those guys clean. All right. So we should see the linebacker. We're going to talk about the linebackers at some other point, but yeah, these linebackers should be free to roam. They should be free to make plays, man. We need them to make plays, but it starts at the defensive line. I'm team defensive line over team coverage. I want my guys to be nasty, dirty, just wreaking havoc up front. So Daquan Jones, man, 30 years old. I think he's in his prime, man. This is the time he's going to make some stuff happen. All right. But he's been with the Panthers his entire career, except for last year he played with the Panthers. He said, to hell with that, bro. I'm signing with the Bills. Deuces. They got him on that 1-year deal. Good for him because he was in a dumpster fire of a team. They're just. I feel like when you don't have a quarterback, you ain't got nothing. Sam Darnold ain't it. So coming up with the Bills, man, I think it's going to pay dividends for him. I think he's going to be I think we're going to be talking about him a lot toward the end of the season. How much of an impact he's having. And then another guy, you hear us talk about Tim Settle, man. But he's a young dude. All right. This is Tremaine Edmonds' former teammate at Virginia Tech. This is a young guy, man. He's a young buck. I like his game, though. Like I said earlier, he's more of a versatile guy. He's not like I would say there in terms of rushing the passer, stopping the run. He could do both. He could play. He could two gap a little bit. He could play a penetrate. I think he's more of a penetrator though. Penetrating style defensive tackle is what he is. Right, and we saw this role last year go to Harrison Phillips, and I think Harrison Phillips, toward the middle of the season on, I think we started to see what the Bills really drafted Harrison Phillips to do. And we started to see it last year. And kudos to him, man. Signed himself a good little contract to go play for the Vikings. And they got a good defensive line. Everson Griffin, whatever. I mean, Danielle Hunter. Well, Everson Griffith's been going through some stuff, but Danielle Hunter for sure. But yeah, man, Harrison Phillips, man, big loss to the community. But I think Tim Settle's a better player, to be honest. I think, and he played sparingly. I mean, that defensive line and for the Commanders, man, they were loaded. They were loaded. So Tim Settle was a forgotten guy. And when the Bills signed Tim Settle, I saw a lot of people from the Commanders community talk about, man, like they were really hurt that they could not re-sign Tim Settle. 6'3", 308 pounds. I like it. I say from a sack total, give me 3-4 sacks. That'd be great for him. That'd be great for him. Give me 10 tackles for loss. That's what I would love to see from Tim Settle. Yeah, Settle is slightly more of a big 3 tech. I think he could play next to Ed on passing downs and be really effective. Absolutely. So you're going to see, like we talked about on the show, sometimes they use Epinesa, Basham to reduce down. They'll run 4 defensive ends. And I think you're going to see, I think Ed Oliver is a guy you have to have on third down, right? Now, Daquan Jones is more of your run stopper. Or if you want to do some ISO work to kind of get free up to the other 3 guys, right? But Tim Settle's more of your penetrating style defensive tackle. All right, he's got functional athleticism. He's got good athleticism, you ask me, and I think he can get after quarterback from a pass rush perspective. I mean, it was always great to see Star get a sack. We're like, damn, Star, okay, Star, it's 1 sack a year. But I think Tim Settle offers you more, right? I think he offers you more. So the Bills have completely, if you ask me, man, they've completely upgraded this defensive line. And I think the dollars meet the talent, and I think that's going to equal the production that we want to see. I think we're going to see it. I'm not worried about the offense. I mean, if we want to talk about defense as a whole, I expect, this run defense to be inside the top 10 this year from a run defense standpoint. We're going to see teams. Y'all saw the schedule. We're going to see teams that want to run the ball, or their calling card is running the ball. And it's fun to look at the schedule. Now, if you go listen to Code of Conduct last week, I went over the schedule on Code of Conduct and talked about some of the milestones that I expect to see from this defense as a whole, right? So when you go play the Titans, right, or the Pittsburgh Steelers, those are teams that want to run the ball. We should, that's something we want to see. I want to see where the run defense is when they go play the Minnesota Vikings. Right? So that's enough time. We should be able to see where they are. Because, Dalvin Cook, those guys want to run the ball. I think we got to see it. We got to see it. But, yeah, I expect them to be inside the top 10 from a pass defense standpoint, from a run defense standpoint. Now, this defense from a points and yards standpoint, they were number 1 in the league. Can they repeat? Maybe not. Let's say top 3. It's hard to repeat 2 years in a row. But if you do, I think who you play, the quarterbacks, I think all that matters. The schedule does matter in that term, right? When we look at the whole scope of things and things change week to week in the NFL. Injuries take place. The narrative constantly changes. But I don't think it's crazy to want the Bills to be inside the top 10 run defense-wise. They're usually middle of the pack. All right, I got to see that improve. Get 50 sacks. Inside the top 10 from a run defense. Get 50 sacks from a total defense standpoint. And then your pass defense, we're one of the tops in the league all the time. Let's keep that in the top 3. Now, that's a lot, but they have all the pieces they need. Kyrie Elam has to develop. We got to get Trey White back. Our linebackers are solid. They're great. Well, they're solid, really good linebackers, right? Great is we're not great, right? But we're really good. But I think this defensive line is the key to the season, man. You win and lose games from the trenches. And that's where they got to go. That's where they got to go. So before I sign off tonight, make sure that you follow, subscribe to the Buffalo Rumblings Podcast Network. Follow, subscribe to my Twitter handle @FurrowSterling. That's where you can find me. You can find me here on Intentional Grounding each and every week. During the season, this show will be on Sunday morning. This will be the pregame show for Buffalo Rumblings. All right. Make sure you follow all our guys, man, on this network. All right. Jay Spencer King, that's my guy. That's my dude. That's family too, man. All these dudes, right? Bruce Nolan, Big, Jamie and Big Newt, all our podcasts, man. Anthony Marino. I mean, we got content for days. We really do, man. It's really awesome over here. Make sure you follow, and subscribe. I'm not sure where we're gonna go next week. I have an idea. I might tackle the cornerbacks, or I might, I love my running backs, man. I'm not sure which way I want to go, and I'll let y'all know. I'm not sure yet. It's debate. I've been doing some research and watching some specific film. Want to see where things go. Definitely want to see where things go. But make sure you follow, subscribe to Intentional Grounding Podcast. Make sure you follow, subscribe to the Buffalo Rumblings Network. And also, I would like to say this, in light of the events that's been happening in Buffalo, around the world, man, if you see something, say something. Stand up for those who cannot defend themselves. Racism is real. It's real. All right. Comfort those who look different than you, who speak differently than you, people of color. Just, man, peace and love, man. That's the message. But my name is Sterling Furrowh, and you're listening to the Intentional Grounding Podcast, and I'm out of here. Peace.